Greetings and welcome to my viewers. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. This is a reading astrological prognostication for the day of the 21st of March, which is coming up rather quickly. We're cutting through this year rather quickly. And on the 21st of March, 2023, there will be a new moon. That is when there is a conjunction with sun and moon. There's essentially the darker aspect of the moon that produces itself. Sometimes it goes eclipse, but mostly it is just a dark moon. And with this, there is an eclipsing of essentially a way to crown and honor the darker aspects of the moon, the deeper aspects of femininity, the divine feminine, and also to revel in the mystery of, well, in one way, it's the glyph of the circle that encompasses the moon, the sun's energy. Consciousness, essentially, is usually reflected by the moon, and as a moon approaches more its waxing phase into fullness, there's a reflective capacity for it as a sister body of the earth to essentially reflect the aspect of light. It becomes an additional source. The moon is a dish that becomes an additional source for prana, for life energy, as well as for enlightenment in such a way. At the same time, there's the Shakespearean maxim of not swearing one's love to the moon, for it is forever mutable, it's changeable. And with this new moon cycle is going to be energizing a stellium that is active in the energy of Aries. Okay. And with Aries, there's quite a bit going on, as you can see here. Quite a bit going on. We have the moon, new moon, sun conjunction here in Aries, combined with Mercury at 5 degrees, Chiron at 14, and Jupiter at 16 degrees in Aries. And one of the big challenges that is occurring with this new moon that people should start to address is placed in the cusp of Gemini, Mars in Gemini, okay? When Mars is in Gemini, our actions are projected into a divine gateway symbolized by the two pillars of dark and light, the two pillars that encompass the High Priestess's energy, okay? It points to essentially walking through, there's a ritualistic sort of gateway that is represented through the path of initiation in Gemini's energy. And this activates essentially a square to the sun and the moon, meaning that there is a possibility of something opening up in terms of a darker energy, okay? Causing a sense of fear. There's fear and trepidation in the terms of the Fool's journey, wherein in the major arcana, if the Fool were to come up, it would come up in a reverse fashion, okay? And when this happens, the energy and the dynamism is lost, the fire is lost, and there's something about it where this action, you know, that is directed in terms of two or in a branching fork that defines the twins of Gemini, essentially create a negative response. This is not to create or cause any fear of any sort to any of my viewers. You would have to check the placement of Mars accordingly to your ascendant in order to figure out how things are going to pan out for you. At the same time, there is a possibility of, once again, something opening up in terms of collective actions affecting our own processes when it comes to new moons. Now, new moons are paths of initiation. Once the dark energy of the dark side of the moon is perceived, then essentially we are eclipsed in order to find out what's really there. Okay, there's a natural curiosity about this that actually allows for the innocence of Aries, the innocence as well as the generative nature of Aries, wherein the karmas that are produced here will give us a sense of newness in terms of starting something new, planning something new, initiating something new. The difficulty is that once this Martian energy produces itself in the energy of Gemini, a lot of things can happen. Gemini usually encompasses the third house and Mercurial energy. And with Mercury very close in Aries, there is a strong frenetic mind, okay? A strong mind that actually oscillates in terms of producing actions or trying to be careful of actions. There's a lot of nervous energy during this moon cycle, this new moon cycle that is occurring on the 21st of March. And with that, there is a possibility of, I would call it a communication breakdown, a possibility for certain gateways or certain paths to be blocked, obstacles in terms of this. At the same time, it's like being in a crisis, feeling like you're in a crisis. Now, the things is that people can define themselves in times of crisis. And with Jupiter leading in terms of degree, at 16 degrees in Aries, at the top side of Aries, I think there is an auspicious quality to this, in that anything that you are trying to do that is quite fresh and quite new might actually be against the collective energies of karma that are within your most immediate community. However, if you plant the seed and make sure that Jupiter is watching over it, that you acknowledge your guru or you acknowledge the teachings of the path of Dharma, okay, the paths of Dharma, at least according to astrology, are the first house, as well as the fifth and the ninth. And this leads to righteous action, okay? One thing that we can appreciate is transformation, anything that has to do with the transformation on a collective level, or one type of business, okay? Pluto is in the 29th degree eventually in the next full moon cycle that occurs in April, on April 6th. There is essentially something that is generating as it moves into Aquarius, another double gateway in terms of the triplicity of air. That is the highest form of intellectual thought, of the splitting and the sort of rectification of things to turn out for the embetterment of humanity through the Aquarian lens, okay? And because it's in 29 degrees in Capricorn, there's something about a collective agency, a collective karma, wherein those who are within community, who are within the community or within a sense of civilization doing their thing in terms of work, in terms of collective work, in terms of sacrificing for the better good and working for the better good, they will be rewarded during this new moon cycle. Meaning that you have to put in the work in order to transform the structures that have been holding us back in terms of creating more holistic or unified or collective agencies, institutions, anything that has to do with your community or the grander scale of things in terms of borders, nations, even spanning to intergalactic aspirations. All of this is tied to the energy of Pluto that is shifting into the Aquarian cusp, okay? And if you plant the seeds now as a leader, as a generator in terms of this new moon cycle in Aries, according to your house, if you have the third house here, you can work with children or your friends or your siblings. Second house, family. Fifth house, more children, romances, affairs. Sixth house, your work. Ninth, your place of education, your higher learning. If you start to plant these seeds accordingly, or 10th house, your most immediate karmas, your work, what you're here to do, your purpose. 12th house, anything that's foreign, mystical communities, etc., etc. You do the work. I mean, essentially, you can apply this and plant the seeds in those houses to make the transformation occur and to find rewards that come accordingly to this transition point of Pluto from Capricorn into Aquarius. And that would be quite auspicious for essentially this new moon cycle. If you were to plant something, it would also it would get rid of any sense of crisis or any sense of conflict when it comes to the actions that you may be trying to procure. On a collective level, there's something about the actions that we do, especially in times of war, especially in times of saying things but not following through. Let's say that much. That we can actually essentially bring to light in some way, shape, or form. Because with every new moon, every full moon, there is an aspect of consciousness that is trying to be awoken. There is a seed that is planted. Now, often these seeds can actually be planted in the wrong way. And if they are, they won't bear fruit, they won't grow properly. Or they will essentially sort of, the seed will be stuck there and it will be a part of the record of your own karma, of your own sanskar, which is essentially a disc that you play out in terms of your incarnation. So you have to be very careful with what you plant currently into the sort of the desert of your existence. One other aspect I see is Venus in Taurus. Okay, now Venus in Taurus is a nice place for Venus to be in. There's something about springtime, at least in the northern hemisphere, and the auspices of Taurus that is actually blessing Taurus with a fine degree of capacity. And that sounds very vague. What I'm talking about here is that there is something about the way we value some of the more grounded aspects of love situations, romance, pleasure, anything that has to do with food or rest or relaxation, the finer things of life. And it is being celebrated right now. At the same time, it's causing, with the realm of desire and its conjunction to Uranus in Taurus, conjunct Venus, there's something here that is tied directly with the dragon's head that is squaring up to this transformational aspect of Aquarius. Now, there's a dual aspect here that actually is stimulated by the new moon, right here, the new moon in Aries, that creates a positive harmony here with this Aquarian and with this Capricorn energy, the 10th house, essentially 10th house energy, 29 degrees Capricorn, Pluto. Okay. Now, this has to do with business. This has to do with essentially structures of finance, money, collective money, taxation, especially with the Plutonic signature. This has to do with things that are hidden wealth that actually can be revealed in such a way that it is something that Taurus has been fighting with in terms of finding stability. The question of stability is very heavy for a lot of people right now. And if you are dealing with something like that, there's some form of seed that you can plant currently that speaks about new inspiration, a new way to do things in terms of the later degrees of Capricorn, wherein you can plant the seed and the transformation will come and it will fuse with some form of collective good or collective consciousness. Giving it a sheen that is actually more fundamentally good for all. And if it's good for all, it's good for especially you as well. So yeah, that's what I see. I mean, currently. One more harmonious aspect is this one here. Mars is splitting itself in two directions. When it does that, it celebrates the two pillars of Gemini when it comes to the gateway. The gateway is essentially, it's pointing to the new moon plus Neptune in Pisces as a square to Mars. So something about your actions when it comes to planting new seeds and becoming, sort of independent. This is also on a collective level. Trying new things, trying to be innovative will actually come up with a block, and in return, there's something about Saturn teaching you a lesson. With Saturn in Pisces, it's a difficult aspect that actually will bless you in some way, shape, or form when it comes to the ability to understand that things will saturate themselves. There's something about the dissolution of greater structures in Pisces, and also the solidification of mystical structures of things that are etheric in nature or tied to some form of grid on a collective level when it comes to spiritual consciousness. Okay. It's as if a new Jerusalem is right around the corner. wherein the promised land is right around the corner, and there's something about this gateway that speaks riddles. Usually it's in dark and light, these pillars, and trying to translate that cosmic energy within the portal according to the pillars of design of Gemini it can prove difficult. But what I see here, excuse me, is the realm of infinite possibility, the mystical sort of mystery when it comes to trying to understand why some things are and the other things aren't. It's two sides of the same coin. It's yin yang. It's the sort of duality of experience when it comes to these structures that we are trying to implement in terms of an order or a sense of order and how they dissolve. This is where the gateway opens up and allows for essentially the key holder or whoever has the action or drive to plant these seeds and to challenge and meet challenges accordingly to actually go on the spiritual journey that one may be seeking. Okay, that is the very best I can do for this new moon reading, and I am due for tarot, so I'll be doing that quite soon. I do wish you well, and thank you for tuning in. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun signing off.